My mom taught me to sell at a spaza shop. She ran a hair salon. I pretty much learned entrepreneurship from my mom's.
Umntu ngumntu ngabantu. That on your own, you can't really do it. You need the support of those around you.
You will have a network of people, a network of communities, and a society that will make sure that you count.
Good afternoon and welcome to another issue of SAITA StraightTalk. The SAITA StraightTalk series is powered by SAITA, the South African Informal Traders Alliance. Now, in every episode of SAITA StraightTalk, we promise you that we go and unpack and find the issues that are pertinent to the informal trading sector. Sometimes we disagree with each other. Most times we celebrate the movements, we berate, and we talk about the important things that can make our sector better. And tonight we're going to revisit a topic that we have discussed a couple of weeks ago. But this time we're not only going to look back at what we said before, we are also going to tell you about the exciting plans SAITA has with selected stakeholders and key partners. And a very, very, what shall I say, a high standard where we are actually going to give the economy a boost in terms of employment. And we're actually going to see whether anybody in the corporate world will be able to succeed at what we're going to do in the next 2 years. My panelists this evening is Don Mashele. Don, good evening and a very, very warm welcome to SAITA StraightTalk. Please give our viewers a brief introduction of who you are.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Louise. Good evening to fellow panelists, John. My name is Don Mashele. I'm from SIFA Small Enterprise Finance Agency. As you will recall, the last time we had a talk, we were together with SIDA. So SIDA and SIFA, we've got a partnership with SAITA, where we're trying to do our best really to support the sector. So my role at SIFA, Small Enterprise Finance Agency, I'm head of business development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. And then for the first time in the SAITA StraightTalk series, it's my pleasure to welcome the SAITA EDF Chief Operating Officer, John Falkvan. Good evening, John, and a warm, warm welcome to SAITA StraightTalk.
Good evening, Louise, and good evening, Don, and thank you for inviting me to this particular show, Louise. Thank you very much.
So if you've tuned in for the first time and you've never heard anybody speak about the R204, the R204 is a recommendation that was passed in 2015 at NEDLAC, and all the countries that form part of NEDLAC has bought into this recommendation. This recommendation encompasses 12 guiding principles that is aimed at supporting the formalization of the informal economy, promoting the economic inclusion of all workers, and also making sure that we move to a formal sector. Now, John, I'm going to start off the conversation with you. SAITA being the voice of the informal sector, why is it so important for this alliance that represents millions and millions of informal traders in our country? Why is it so important for us to embrace this journey of the R204?
When one looks at thank you for that question, Louise. When one looks at the context of the economy and how the economy is structured and the huge role that the informal sector plays, there's a need for us to try to formalize those informal businesses. And by formalize it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to take them from the place they're currently located, but we want to improve the conditions of our traders. We want to improve the conditions of the employees of those traders as well as our spaza shops and other folks within the informal sector space. And so I think that with SAITA being the voice of the informal sector, we are well positioned to bring together all the partners, for example, as my colleague Don has said, in terms of partnerships with both private sector as well as with government institutions. And we can then drive the R204 based on the fact that we've got this one voice that's bringing all these partners together, and then we're able to assist our traders and others in the informal sector to really take their businesses to the next level. And the R204 project helps us as well in terms of the country, in terms of job creation. So the name of the project that one of our colleagues, Chantal, has actually mentioned is it's called the R204 1 Million Jobs.
I was gonna stop you there, John. I was gonna stop you there because you and I know the story, and
Yes.
our viewers don't know the story. My question to you was, so we have the stakeholders, and we know that we've got high-level stakeholders both in corporate and in government. That is probably for the first time in history saying that we want to walk alongside the informal sector to make sure that we change the economy of this country. So as SAITA, John, what is the step? What are we initiating to give corporates and government a reason to partner with us? So tell us the story now. What is it that we're doing?
The first thing that we want to do is we want to use this project, the R204 project, as our anchor project. So everything fits into R204. So when we take a trader and we assist that trader to become, in terms of steps, there could be 10 steps to formalization. The trader might be by step number 1 now. So what's the next step? The next step is maybe we get you a bank account. So we'll bring on board a banking partner at the moment that our primary banking partner is ABSA. The next thing is the banking. The next thing is the person might need a device. And we'll bring on board partners that are able to assist them with the device. So now they don't only work in terms of cash, they're now working with a point of sale device, and that assists them to increase their turnover. That helps us to come to the place where we can bring on board one of our partners, for example, SEDA. And SEDA can then come alongside that business and say, okay, guys, where do you want to take this business? Let's set up a business plan, for example. That business plan then can go to eventually Don, and we have a pipeline of traders that are now ready to scale to the next level. Up till now, for lots of projects, our traders have been very dissatisfied with certain government departments, but once we have that agreements in place, we're then able to help take them to the next level. So our vision is really, and our mission is really to try to assist our traders to just take them to that next level. And by formalizing our traders, what happens when a trader suddenly increases their turnover? Suddenly there's a demand for them to get additional people to work for them. So if you take 1 million of our 4 million traders out there, and each of them create 2 jobs, suddenly we can create 2 million jobs in the country. And so that's what's driving us. I think ultimately that's the reason why we're bringing these fantastic partners like Yosifa, like Cedars on board, and why we're driving it via the ILO, the recommendation 204. I hope that answers that particular question. I've got a lot more to say, but yeah, let's stop.
No, I know you do. Thank you, John. Don, I'm going to direct the next opening to you in the sense of the informal sector we know traditionally has been very marginalized and neglected. And for a government department or a government agency as yourself, as part of the Department of Small Business Development, how important is it for your department to be taking hands with an organization like SAITA?
No, thanks, Louise. It's very, very crucial because let's start by looking at what we're trying to achieve in terms of the ecosystem model. So when you look at the ecosystem, it's a business environment that has got a lot of players trying to support small businesses. As John was saying, some will be banks, some will be your cell phone providers of this world, will be the DFIs that provide funding, will be the SAITA. So there are so many organizations out there trying to support small businesses in a variety of ways. SIFA, we support through funding. SAITA is business development support. So John was mentioning the issue of the point of sale. So there will be a private sector company that want to provide. So we're coming from different angles. Now, if there is no organization that can bring this support institutions together like SAITA, we will all be operating in our own silos. We will be as SIFA be waiting for someone to qualify for funding. If they don't qualify for funding, we move on. We won't have the time or the capacity to prepare them for them to access our funding. So the partnership that we have with SAITA is then to say, let SAITA be the glue of that ecosystem. So let SAITA partner with private sector, a variety of institutions. Let SAITA partner with government institutions. And in the center of that is an informal trader. So then John was talking about the 10 steps. So those 10 steps, somebody must guide those steps in a coordinated fashion. SIFA can't do that because, as I was saying, when we support small businesses, we're saying we have this funding. Do you qualify? We tick box. If you don't qualify, we'll have to refer you to SIDA, etc., etc. So you need a coordinated effort. So that is where the partnership that we have with SAITA comes in very, very crucial. Now, what to then do? The provision of fundings, if I talk now from a SIFA point of view, to provide funding, it's an easier way. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Because if you provide funding, even if it's development fund finance, you are guided by the National Credit Act. You are guided by the National Credit Regulator. So there's the do's and the don'ts of how to provide the funding. You have created the business rules in terms of how you want to provide the funding. You have created a policy that where you make sure that the funding that you provide is in line with that act. So that is why when you look at the funding that we provide, we've got requirements. I'm sure some of the entrepreneurs that are watching here, they know our application form. Now I'm talking about the SIFA application form. At the back of the application form is got what we call a checklist. Now we're becoming practical now. That checklist has got requirements close to 15 to 20 requirements depending on the kind of business. So it's up to an entrepreneur to go through that checklist and say, do I have a tax clearance? Do I have this? Do I have a bank account? Do I have this? Do I have that? If they don't have it, from a SIFA point of view, we'd expect them to go back and be able to be assisted by somebody before they can come and apply for that kind of funding. So the issue of formalization is very, very crucial because what it does is it makes the lives or the access that you were talking about, Louise, the access to finance, the access to government programs, the financial inclusion to be easy. And it also reduces the issue of the turnaround times because if somebody comes to SIFA and has been through this value chain from SAITA to SIFA and they've ticked all the boxes, our lives as a SIFA, as a lender, becomes easy rather than us now taking the 20, 30 working days to respond to that application. Everything is there, is packaged for us. Now the issue of the turnaround time is actually addressed. So it's very, very crucial, this partnership for informal traders to start with SAITA, move through the whole chain, and then by the time you come to SIFA, you're ticking all the boxes. It makes the issue of providing that kind of finance very, very simple and efficient.
That's such good news. So John, just because you've got so much more to say. So Don has now painted the picture in terms of how logistically SAITA is able to assist SAITA members in the informal sector in terms of how to really to keep us on the right road to get to where we want to be. But what is the program that we're going to do, and what do we hope to achieve with it? So has this program got a name, and what is our full intent of the difference that we want to make to the sector and to the economy as a whole?
Thank you very much, Louise, and thank you very much for that clarification, Don. The name of the program is the SAITA R204 program, and that includes the 1 million jobs we want to create. So the main intent of the program is, as Don has said, is basically we're trying to take our traders and other folks in the informal sector, we want to take them through a process. For example, we mentioned the 10 steps. So what is the 10 steps that takes us to that point where eventually, if that business wants to scale, they can go to SEFA, for example, or another finance institution, and they then able to take that business to the next level. So by the time they come to SEFA, there are certain requirements, and it's not impossible. Maybe not every single informal business or trader wants to go that route, but they might want to get to a certain level of formality.
Yes.
You know, maybe not every single person wants to become a big business that needs to borrow 6 million rand or 10 million rand from SEFA. But the idea, for example, is we want to focus, a big focus of what we have is on training and starting with the basics. So what's the basics? The basics is, let's get a bank account for you. Let's get a point of sale device to you. Once we've got a point of sale device, let's try to make sure that your taxes are up to date. We've got an accounting and tax division, so that can assist you keeping your taxes up to date. A very important benefit, I believe, is that when we try to get our traders and the informal sector to be formalized up to the point where you have UIF, for example, because that's one of the main, the spirit of that particular recommendation has to do with the fact that we want our informal traders to have the same benefits as our formal businesses. So what happened during COVID, for example, was that all the formal businesses were able to access UIF funding and various grants government was providing. And why were they able to do that? They were able to do that because they had a tax number, etc., etc. So sometimes it's about understanding that crises like the COVID crisis does show certain of the fractures in a specific sector. And I think just that particular access then basically would have assisted a lot of our traders when they couldn't trade due to the lockdown regulations. But except for that, even if you take that out of the picture, if we can assist our traders to be formalized, it then gives them access to growing their business, growing the economy, increasing the tax base of the country, increasing the number of people that get employed. So it's not about taking the small piece of pie and breaking it up. What we're trying to do with this is to try to make that pie a lot bigger, because ultimately that's what would grow the economy. It's what would grow the individual. It's what to take that individual to the next level and their business to the next level. These are entrepreneurs, and oftentimes the head of our Economic Development Forum, our chairperson, Mr. David Venter, always says, and I agree with him, sometimes government will say there's so much available for entrepreneurs. But ultimately, we've got entrepreneurs that we can help, and we can assist those entrepreneurs to scale. And those entrepreneurs are in the informal sector, and they're already working hard, and they're already they're excellent entrepreneurs, but they just need that assistance in terms of just going to the next level, you know. And I see that on our Facebook page that David has commented Thanks, David, for that. So I think that at the end of the day, that's our vision. Our vision and our mission is we want to drive that. And I love what Don said about SAITA being the glue for this ecosystem. So instead of having disparate people working all over the place, we now have one place where corporate can come to, government can come to, and so on. And we can then take that and leverage off all of these wonderful partners and come around our informal traders and really take them to the next level. So that's what's driving us at this stage, is just try to take our informal traders, take the informal sector and take it to the next level. And I think everybody, including government and corporates, have realized the value of that sector. But we have to have a vehicle, which is the R204, which guides us. So it's not just about individual, different things we're giving folks, but ultimately it's about the formalization of the informal sector. And if we've got, for example, one of the things we keep doing is just measuring things. If we've got, say, 4 million folks in the informal sector and we've got 2 million traders or 3 million traders, we want to see how can we take that, and if we can take 100,000 traders, for example, in the next 2 to 3 years and help them formalize, those 100,000 traders could create 5 jobs each. That's suddenly 500,000 new job opportunities that could be available. But it could be much more than that, So that's what drives us every day, Louise.
John, I got so excited when you spoke about the 1 million jobs that SAITA is embarking on, because that really it's such a bullish statement to make to the economy. But even though it's not just bullish, it also speaks to where the heart and soul and drive of SAITA is. And you've just spoken about 100,000 traders each being able to employ one person. But the million jobs, we're not just talking about informal traders as streetwalkers, aren't we? We are covering a much, much wider spectrum, and we're covering the whole spectrum of what makes the economy tick. So am I right in saying that if you become a SAITA member, you almost get a first-class ticket into knowing which sector at the moment is going to be funneled through into be building and training where we next are going? Do you want to just expand on that?
Yes, thank you, Louise. We've basically got informal traders are in every single sector. So our goal is 1 million jobs by 2023. And when I said 100,000, I said if you take 100,000 businesses and you work with them, for example, it could be 100,000, our goal would be 1 million. But if you just take 100,000 businesses and you formalize those businesses and you work with them to formalize them, those 100,000 businesses could each create 10 jobs. That gives you 1 million jobs. So that's one way to get 1 million jobs. The other way is you target 1 million traders and each of them create 1 job. That's another way to create 1 million jobs. So there's different ways we would get there. And one of our projects in terms of the formalization is a program called Business Person of the Year. And that particular program is across the different sectors within the economy. For example, the clothing sector, you have manufacturing, tourism, etc. So you have different sectors, even agriculture. And so the way we're building it is in a very, very practical way. And we basically are targeting every single sector within the economy. And we do that via, for example, our Business Person of the Year campaign. We do it via our training division. We have an accounting and tax division. And we've got very, very competent business people that's assisting the sector via the Economic Development Forum to SAITA's Economic Development Forum to assist our traders to go to the next level. So in answer to your question, Louise, we are actually looking at every sector within the economy.
Thank you.
including education. Education is a very important sector because oftentimes the reason why somebody goes into becoming an informal trader is because they're struggling in that area. And so that is another sector that's important for us as the informal sector.
Thank you. Don, I'm sure if you are listening to John, and the plans that SAITA has with the 1 million jobs, I'm sure you are delighted in the one sense, but in the other sense, you're probably also saying to yourself, "Thank you, SAITA, for funneling all those people through into SEFA." But if you just wanna comment on from a government agency that is responsible for finance, what would 1 million jobs in the sector do for SEFA and the country as a whole?
Look, I think before I get to that question, I like what John was saying to say SAITA is looking across sectors. It's not just informal traders, as it were. It's agriculture, education, and other sectors. Because as a SEFA, as you know, that the suite of programs that we have, they are broad. We through our intermediaries, we can provide funding as little as 500 rands to an informal trader, but we also have a program where we can fund a business for 15 million rands. So that tells you that we do have a suite of programs to say whatever sector that SAITA targets, we should be able to have an instrument to support that. But now, if you're saying that if the value of this partnership again is, we do have those programs that we have developed off the shelf, but as we go along, we do develop other programs because the reality of the matter is that SAITA can come and say, okay, SEFA can see what you have. But we think for this type of sector, for this type of businesses, your instrument is not ideal for this reason. Can we think in terms of designing something that can address the needs of those particular businesses? So we can also tailor things around what the market needs. So I thought I should make that comment as well. The issue of jobs, you are so right. One of the things that we do measure as a SEFA, as a development funding institution, is what we call developmental impact. Now, the developmental impact is one of the indicators that we measure as jobs. We do fund, when we fund businesses, we check the jobs that they create, being new jobs, but we also check the job that they sustain, because sometimes some of the businesses, if you don't fund them, you might find that they will be going down and those jobs could be lost. So we measure both sustained jobs as well as jobs, new jobs created. So to back to your question, I think we need to also understand that this type of jobs, when you talk about a job and saying we're creating one job, we need to measure that impact holistically to understand that if someone is sitting in a street corner and selling whatever they are selling, you might be creating that one job, but that one job, as Africans, it supports an average of a family of 5 members.
Yes.
For one, I grew up in Soweto, we're a family of 8. My father my late father, may his soul rest in peace, was the one who was working, and my mother was an informal trader. But we all were able to go to school, because the job that you have, to count just 1 million jobs, you need to also count the downstream. Because these jobs, they take kids to school, and then they do other things that really support the communities. So we also need to start talking about that impact at that level. The other thing that I thought we should also think about is when we talk about formalizing these businesses, be it 100,000, the other benefit for this is, and I'm sure we'll get there once we start getting the numbers, is the issue of starting to categorize these businesses such that they're able to benefit from the issue of bulk buying. If I give an example of the spaza shop support program, for instance, that we are running, the whole idea around that is to support so many spaza shops such that when they start you hitting the critical numbers, the critical mass, then you start saying, how can we club together such that when we approach our suppliers, whatever supplier it is, we can benefit from the issue of bulk buying. Because once you start doing that, you do the issue of bulk buying. There's the issue of you can easily compete, with the other traders out there. I mean, I was just driving this afternoon, driving from Vereeniging coming back home. I happened to pass through the market, the fresh produce market. Someone is just driving a car on their own. You look at that car and saying, okay, now, if informal traders can club together and they're going to buy from the market together, and then they're saying that we have got this packet of, we've got this buying power, you're able to get the issue of quantity discounts, and we are also able to then say, once you have those discounts, you can compete easily. So I think we also need to get to that level at some point. The other thing around the issue of formalization is to get government support, because this is more like an unseen economy, if I may put it that way. We don't know the number of informal traders. As I was saying, that I'm familiar with Soweto, there is a Bara tax rank in Soweto. Those of you guys who know that it's the biggest tax rank in Gauteng, one of the biggest in Gauteng. And you look at the traders that are there. Someone was, I think there was a research made, I can't remember exactly when it was done, but what the research brought up was that on a daily basis, close to R1 million exchange hands in the Bara tax rank. Yeah. Now, that's an unseen economy in a way. So we are saying that once we partner with and we start formalizing businesses, maybe again formalizing is a scary word. We can just say, okay, run this, as John simply puts it, open a bank account, register with SARS if you need to register with SARS, register with CIPC if you need to register with CIPC. So once we start doing that, now government support becomes easy. Government begins to know that these are the type of businesses that we have in the informal trader. When we come with support packages, we then know the type of budgets, and we also know what they have, what they don't have, so that we don't put requirements of things that they don't have, and when they want to access, they can't access those schemes. John made an example of the COVID relief schemes that we're running. For good reason, you then say you need to have a tax clearance as an example. But if you have a partnership with SAITA, we say most of the guys don't have that. They won't be able to access the scheme. Then we need to deal with that market. We need to deal with that anomaly in the market. By the time we design these schemes, we design the schemes in line with what the informal traders have, so that the access becomes easy, financial inclusion becomes easy. So let me stop there. And I know you were asking about jobs, and then I went all over the place, but I was saying the issue of jobs, let's not just mention jobs to say this enterprise is creating 5 jobs. I'm saying that those 5 jobs, the one job support an average of 5 family members. That's how we do it as Africans.
Yes, and I think that's exactly what SAITA endeavors when we say that we care about our traders, we care about their employees, and we care about the greater community, because we know that nothing that we do with the trader is in isolation and stops with the trader, that there's a domino effect that is so far-reaching that we often don't even realize that the difference you make in just bringing a salary into a household. Mm-hmm. John, now that Don has expanded so beautifully on how it works, and also to you, I want to say thank you for just unpacking what it means to go from informal to formal, because it's actually not as scary as it sounds. There's actually so much more benefit. But when you hear the words move from informal to formal, I can imagine how most of us would have hesitancy going, all this is to make sure that somebody is going to knock on my door and say, where's your tax? It's going to become like a TV license where you're just going to get this SMS all the time saying, you owe me, you owe me, you owe me. But John, I want to talk to you about all the touch points within SAITA that we have to make sure that you get all this information, because we have state-of-the-art, first world touch points for communicating with all members and the general public. So just talk us through talk us through how anybody can access and make contact with us easily.
Thank you for that, Louise, and thanks to Don for your insights there. I really appreciate that. We're basically just about to launch. We've launched our SAITA app, so we'll encourage in the comments below. You'll see that it has been shared by Renee, so that can be downloaded, and that's one way of communicating with us. Another way is to go onto our website and communicate on our website and leave some information over there. And I think we've got our numbers, and there's different ways in which folks can touch base with us. We've got a Facebook page as well, which is the SAITA Media page, and they can leave a message there and we'll get back to them. So there's various ways that folks can get a hold of us and that they can join us. And SAITA has benefits as well. We've got a benefits package for informal traders that includes things like funeral policy and legal assistance and so on. And so we've got various ways they can communicate, and there's various advantages of joining SAITA. But I just want to get back to the point of, if somebody, the idea behind going from formal or informal to formal, as Don has said, there's many advantages. And one of those advantages, and we are currently working on it, once our guys, for example, start using a device, we can then track and see, okay, this is how much they're spending at this particular wholesaler. That basically means that becomes a form of bulk buying. And now our members would then basically get a discount. So now they can compete, in terms of best prices. So we are definitely looking at that, but that would be one of the big advantages. There's a lot of upsides, and a lot of it has to do with us just guiding our members and showing them the benefits of these different options. But I think a lot of our members do see it now, especially after the COVID, the lockdown and so on, and the fact that they couldn't access certain things. But, I have to say that government is definitely coming on board, and hopefully we'll have a very official, exciting announcement very soon with one of our major government partners, besides SAITA and SAIFA that's coming on board as well.
John, that's very, very exciting news. And I want to thank both of you gentlemen for setting the scene so beautifully. We all know that this is only the beginning of the discussion, because we really, really need to unpack for our listeners and for our viewers. We need to unpack exactly what the road on this R204 means. And it's quite interesting that we call it the R204, because we know in South Africa, a lot of our roads has an R in front of them. So this is our road that we're traveling on. And the road is a highway. I see it as a highway, and it has many, many lanes, more than the N1 has in Johannesburg going through to Pretoria, because each lane speaks to a different sector. But we're all going from informal to formal. So we're moving from Cape Town to Limpopo, in terms of making sure that we take our traders and our members on a journey of informal to formal. So Don, I know in the next couple of months, we're going to see a lot more of you and your team, as well as the other government agencies. Thank you so much for once again, just being able to make government language so understandable for all of us, because there's a lot of times when I think, you need a special degree to understand what government is saying, but you've really just broken it down. And if I can understand it, then I know the viewers can too. John, also thank you to you. Your first time, and I know it's also not the last time. Thank you for also taking a lot of the fear out of something that sounds very, very hard to do, moving from informal to formal. It's something that we can do. It's something that we have to do, and it's actually something that we're all going to be benefiting from. So thank you again for being part of tonight's show. This is SAITA Straight Talk. Tonight we spoke about the R204. SAITA is embarking on this journey, calling it Project R204, creating 1 million jobs by 2023. If you want to know more, please leave a comment below with your contact details, or you can download the SAITA app from the Google Play Store and the Apple iStore. Our website is www.saita.org.za. From me, Louise, till the next time, goodbye.